Good morning. Today we have with us Toma Barbarasa. He's a food lawyer based in Romania. Hello, Toma. How are you? Where are you now?
Hi, Cesare. First of all, thank you very much for the invitation. I'm really happy and honored to join your sessions of discussions. I'm based in Bucharest, Romania now, and work a lot on food matters.
Great. Yeah, Toma is a friend from many years. We will meet soon in Bucharest because I have a trip planned in early November. So if you want to buy us dinner and speak about food law, we will be there together. Don't be shy, I'm joking. And Toma is running nowadays his own law firm and is one of the few really specialized pure breed food lawyers around. Can you tell us a bit more about your business or your career, how you end up running a firm on your own?
Yeah, I could say that food law chose me, then I chose food law, but to put it in a few more words, I actually started in 2009 as a real estate junior lawyer doing construction and expropriation matters. Wow. So it was quite an interesting ride. Then I moved to different law firms, to bigger law firms, to medium ones, and then a bigger one. And still did a lot of real estate matters, well, actually only real estate. And in 2013, I actually did my first label review, and actually I was at the right person at the right time, since a colleague of mine at the big corporate law firm that I joined back then entered maternity leave. So I was pretty curious to find out a bit more about this interesting industry. So here I am today after 10 years, and I still like it. Actually, what I love about this is that you never get bored because it's so intertwined with other industries. So you get to learn a lot of stuff that it's outside the what feels sometimes as rigid law stuff for us lawyers. I'm sure people with legal background understand very well. So you get to, it's like tasting from different plates when you're at a restaurant, which I really love actually. So this keeps you really curious, and it's quite challenging because as you well know, you have to read a lot always. Yeah. So going back to the historical story, in 2013 I joined this law firm, and I did in parallel for a lot of years real estate and food matters, sometimes more food, sometimes more real estate. Then I decided to make a change. This was in 2019. Actually, it happened when I was doing with my wife the Trans-Siberian trip from Moscow to Ulaanbaatar, which was really interesting. Somehow it felt like an incredible unplugging to the craziness of the world, and I decided I should take it to the next level. So I left the corporate life and I joined a boutique law firm. So it was very interesting in terms of human interacting just before the pandemic started, because I left from 100 people company to 2 people, including me. So it was quite a big change. And moving on, at this time I little by little moved more and more into the food and life sciences matters. Still did a lot of, not that much, but still did real estate and corporate matters. And then at the start of this year, I actually felt that I need to concentrate on something, because as we know, as I said, it's a lot of stuff to read, to be organized, to be in control of your client's schedule, also considering work-life balance. And of course, the pandemic changed the rules of the game significantly. So in March this year, I opened my my law firm, which was very interesting. And actually, I also wanted to see if I'm up for the challenge. And so far, it has worked pretty well. And let's see what the future holds.
But I'm sure that maybe on your work-life balance, run a business might not be the best option. But we'll speak about that later. I still cannot find a balance myself, honestly. After 10 years, it's always a struggle. But okay, it's out of topic. But tell me about the trip from Moscow to Ulaanbaatar, because I like those icy and cold places and landscapes, and it should have been amazing. What this trip left you? Also, because I guess that probably in the next 10 years will be quite difficult to do that trip again, due to the political situation.
You're spot on. Actually, this was my childhood dream of my wife. I'm more into the South American side, which we did 2 years before, but this time we decided let's go to this part of Asia and Europe. Europe. It's not Europe.
It's in between.
Yeah,
it's really in between.
So coming back from the trip and halfway year, well, actually 1 year after, I mean, even now we, in all fairness, we're looking at each other and we can't realize what we did, because now it seems crazy. Well, not crazy, it's quite impossible to do it. Like getting up in a train in Moscow and then, you can drop wherever you want during this gigantic continent. We actually decided to go to Ulaanbaatar because the train connections were better, and then we moved to China, which also seems impossible now. So in a few words, it's if you like to go, if you like to ride trains, then it's definitely a must do during this lifetime, because at first you may think, okay, what do you do in a train? You just gaze the windows, look at the people, and that's it. You'll get bored. But a good example is that I love music, and I decided, okay, I will eventually get bored at some point. I will download some music, get some ebooks and things like that. To be honest, I think I listened to 1 or maybe 2 tracks during this trip, and in terms of hours, it meant more than 10,000 kilometers in 22 days, and more than I think 110 hours effectively spent in the train. And the best words to describe it is like you're getting outside the conventional time and space, and you're entering a different time and space, which somehow pass really, really fast. But you don't get bored. You just, I found it very relaxing and refreshing, and it was like I said, like unplugging your main computer, your hardware, and cleaning your disk, if I may say it like this. And it was during, I had thoughts before this, but it was during this time that I finally decided to make an important change in my professional life, because I had been involved in corporate law firms with more than 10 years. So I said, okay, I need to move on, maybe see how it's on my own. And it was. And if you travel outside Europe, then you're more used to it, but it's a completely different world. And what I really find, I felt this also in South America, that it changes you in the sense that you're more humble, you learn more from the people who have different cultures. Of course, if you're very curious and want to find out things about their cultures, their stories, it's like you get a full dive into their lives. So it was amazing. It's amazing, yeah. And I had times where I was just looking at Russians standing in front of the train when it stopped, or just talking to each other. Also, the language barrier was funny at times. We had some examples where we wanted to talk with Russians, but it was completely impossible. Nothing would work. They would just speak Russian, and we tried English, French, German, Italian, nothing. But you know, like it's the body language and the mimics and the non-verbal language that actually works, and you obtain what you want. So it's very interesting. It gets you totally outside of your comfort zone. So if you like this, then it's a must do. Even I would say even for people who are more into, they like things to be settled, and a really life changer.
Yeah. No, I'm really jealous of this trip. The time for yourself, the sharing with your wife, the being in the flow and see all these landscape, cultures, language changes so fast. It's great.
Yes, and then the landscape, indeed, it is mind-blowing at times, especially exactly. the Baikal Lake and its surroundings are quite astounding. So and even the Siberian landscape is really impressive.
Yeah, I travel a lot, but mostly for business, and you have different timings. You try to keep some time for yourself, but
yeah.
But it's very true that if you travel, if you are respectful of other cultures, if you are humble, travel changes you. No matter if it's for business or for leisure, you always learn new things. It's great. So let's move to the technical topics. I know you are very into the food supplements industry, and I know also that especially in Romania, but not just in Romania, we have still few trade barriers, even in the internal market. We have differences between national legislation from country to country, differences in the notification systems of supplements that are required in most of the EU member states. And tell us a bit more about your experience. Well, what are the major challenges there, major uncertainties? What's your experience in this industry?
Yeah, to put it in one word, we can say that the market is quite chaotic. Well, not the market, sorry, but the legislation, because I am also aware and read about food supplements legislation and practice in other states. And to be honest, the Romanian one, I think it deserves a place in top 3 of the most unpredictable, and chaotic is the best word. So I'm lucky enough to have worked a lot with food supplements. Like for the last years, more than 5-6 years, my work is concentrated in food supplements and regular foods, but food supplements take a big part of the cake. So the market, the Romanian market, is estimated at, I think, 450 million euro. It increased a lot during the last years, probably decreased a little with the global situation, like the supply chain problems and the pandemic and the war. But going into the more technical stuff, so compared to other states, it's difficult especially for foreign clients to understand, because essentially you have, depending on the type of on the composition of the food supplement, you have 3 types of products. So the easiest ones, if we can call them like this, are food supplements containing vitamins and minerals, for which you just do a notification because they follow the European directive. But
sorry to interrupt you. So are the one called fortified food mainly by other countries? So it might be a normal food like, I don't know, biscuits enriched with vitamin and minerals?
Different story.
Different story. Okay, we are already in the food supplement category.
We are just in the these are fortified
These are
foods,
different. The
yeah,
fortified food are different.
exactly.
Okay.
These are foods with vitamins and minerals. You just notify the label to the competent authority, and things are quite easy. So food supplements with vitamins and minerals, we can compare them with fortified foods in the sense that the procedure is rather simple.
But they are really supplements. So
they're really supplements.
Food with a high concentration of vitamins that you take in one shot pre-dose form. Okay. So it's okay, not regular food. Great. Thank you.
So the interesting part comes when you go deeper into food supplements which contain vitamins and minerals and other ingredients and nutrients such as amino acids, botanicals, and so on, which have, first of all, they need to be registered before this is very important, they must be registered before they are placed on the market. And the procedure is quite complex in the sense that compared to other states where you just provide the label to the authority or you do nothing like in Sweden, here you need to prepare a full technical dossier with technical documents like certificates of analysis, technological flow charts, specific statements, the label, also the product samples. So all of this you need to prepare in a file and submit it to the authority. And it's quite a big file that you need to prepare. Then
if I can tell you about Italy, it's not so bad. We have an IT portal where we do the notification, but for instance, about claims, we basically self-certify that we are respecting the regulation. You provide just the ingredient list with the dose of each ingredient. That's quite precise, but no technical dossiers. You just notify the label. So that's something in terms of red tape.
Here the authority also comments often on the health and nutritional claims if they consider they are not they do not comply with the applicable legislation. And what's really important from a practical side, because we all love this, the legislation is something, and then you have the practical side. In practice, it happens sometimes that you get the same competent authorities because you have different ones. Basically, in case of these supplements, you can choose between 3 identical competent authorities. They just located in different cities, but on some aspects, they have different interpretations of the same legal issue. So one may be more relaxed, the other may be more restrictive. So it's very interesting when you get a food supplement formula, like you really need to assess, depending on the ingredients, where you need to go to the competent authority. Moving on, there's also the third category, which now, because we had also some legislative changes, but we'll discuss a bit more about this in the next minutes. The third category is just products, medicinal and aromatic plants, and also beehive products, which are notified to the Bucharest Food Bioresources Institute, which before 2021, when the legislation changed, was actually the most important and the main authority where operators would notify products. Because apart from this third category of food supplements, most of the operators would also notify the second category, which I talked about, so food supplements with other nutrients. And as we know, this contains the biggest part of the food supplements market, because you have a lot of ingredients, more exotic ones, amino acids, like I said, and caffeine, and so on. So now this Bucharest authority, which is the most experienced one, has seen its activity reduced because it is competent since March 2021, just on this side of the food supplements area. Talking about challenges for companies, what I found out about after so many years of working, that well, first of all would be, it might sound silly, but you get a lot of administrative issues, such as some of the authorities, the ones that are competent for the second category, which I told you about. For example, they accept payment of the due tax for the notification of the file just in local currency. And if, of course, you're not a Romanian food operator, then it's a bit difficult to pay. And what's even more interesting is that when you do the payment, you have to fill in some specific requirements in the payment order. And the most important is the fiscal code of the authority. So if you don't put that fiscal code, the Romanian fiscal authorities will reject the payment. And then you can have 3 payments done in a row, which are all of them rejected by the authority.
Good. I'm already scared. But also this fact that you have different authorities, you mean different central authorities, or you can notify the supplement in a specific district? Let's say in Bucharest or in Brașov, 2 different offices of the same authorities and have a different outcome, because this would be complicated from a foreigner perspective, of course.
That's why you need a local consultant.
Yeah, that's advertising. Great. Go to Toma. No, that's true. That's why we have a network, and we cannot be experts on all countries.
Yes. So to answer your question, it's a little bit crazy. So for food supplements containing only botanicals, so the 3rd category, you go to the Bucharest authority, and things are quite. Well, there are sometimes exceptions, but they're quite experienced, and they have an I would say, relaxed attitude, in the sense that they also use the mutual recognition procedures, and you don't face any issues in this respect, because speaking of challenges for companies, this would be the second one, like the application of the mutual recognition rules. So the Bucharest authority is quite okay with that. The other, going now to the other category, which is the most important one, the second one, here you may choose between 3 authorities, which are basically, they are regional centers for public health located in Timișoara, Iași, and Cluj. So some of the biggest cities in the country. So here they, like I said, accept, because of course it's not their fault, it's the system. They accept payment only in local currency, like I told you. And for example, now they have started changing their approach, but I've had years where I try to use the mutual recognition procedure, and in some cases, not all of them, but the majority, they would say we don't have technical rules, we don't have methodological rules to apply the mutual recognition procedures, which is quite strange, to be honest, because as we know, the mutual recognition rules apply irrespective of any national framework. So it's quite, it's basically an obstacle, a barrier to the free movement of goods. Okay. So yes, this is an interesting aspect. So basically, you can choose between those 3 because they have the same competence, but sometimes it happens, like I told you. So in this case of these 3, that you get different approaches of the same legal issues. So if you know them well, you can choose where you want to go, because then the outcome, you have better chances of finalizing successfully a dossier.
It's not surprising if you think about novel foods. It was like that in Europe until we changed the regulation, centralizing the procedure. You were picking up the states that were potentially quicker and more skilled to evaluate novel foods to get an approval until the entry into force of the new rules. So it's the same there, I would say. And that's why you need a good local consultant again. But it's good to hear that mutual recognition is mostly applied, because I faced challenges also in Italy, in other countries in the past. But I guess like in our country, you have a specific lists of substances that are allowed or not, substances with upper levels, botanicals. Maybe they're not applied to products manufactured abroad for the mutual recognition, but you have such complexity in Romania or not? Yeah, you have.
We do. Actually, they are applied sometimes stricter, sometimes not that strict, but to take them one by one. So we have a botanical list. Well, we have 3 lists with permitted and prohibited plants. The interesting part is that these lists have not been updated since 2005. So quite a lot of time since then. So what the authorities do, they use the Belfrit list, especially the Belgian list of plants. What's interesting is that even in this case, you can have different approaches by the authorities, in the sense that, for instance, the Food Bioresources, the Bucharest Food Bioresources Institute, what I forgot to say is that they are different in the sense that the regional centers of public health are within the Ministry of Health. The Food Bioresources Institute is related to the Ministry of Agriculture, and they sometimes have different opinions, different approaches, and to go even further, the Ministry of Agriculture has issued several annexes to this botanicals lists, as they are approved by the national order. But these lists, these updated lists, have not been issued compliant to the law, in the sense that there wasn't any order or law as the constitutional rules imposed.
Procedural flows from a
of
legal
course,
administrative perspective.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So from a legal administrative point of view, they are not okay. In practice, however, they are followed, and a lot of food supplements containing these products that are botanicals that are in these lists are placed on the market. On the other side, the departments within the Ministry of Health considered, well, they are not legal because they haven't been enacted accordingly, which I can totally agree with. But on the other hand, as I discussed with them a lot of times, I said, okay, but we have in 1-2 years, we'll have 20 years when the botanicals lists have not been updated. What do we do? So you get this small battles back and forth, and try to solve your issues as smooth as you can.
It's normal in many countries when you have different ministries, authorities involved. There are also political fights, different views. It's a same old, I would say.
Same old, yes. Speaking, as you well pointed, unfortunately there's a lot of political involvement in this, because I know I'm happy and lucky enough to have a very good relationship with the local central and local authorities, and after many discussions with them, I know that sometimes it's not up to them, or they can do little or nothing about it, because and the best example is now, as I told you in the first part of our discussion on this segment, we have a new law from March 2021, which was supposed to simplify new food supplements law, which was supposed to simplify things, but in some cases it complicated them a lot, because this law provides just the general framework, and it needs some methodological norms. But the norms, although they should have been issued until July 2021, even today they are not enacted. So you get a combo of legislations, like the new law plus the old legislation, which is quite vast and scattered in multiple pieces of legislation, and you do a mix of these and try to apply them as correctly as possible. So this new law also raises some issues, in the sense that it provides it imposes for food supplements containing other ingredients than vitamins and minerals to be notified based on a technical document issued by a technical committee. The problem is that this technical committee involves persons from different ministries, because it is active now. Well, in some theoretically is active in the sense that it deals with problematic cases, or cases that are borderline, or where you need to have where you have different views on sensitive legal matters, for example, botanicals, or maximum levels exceeded in certain ingredients. So this technical committee manages to organize and meet, I don't know, a couple of times per year today. So if you put it to very slow. So if you need a technical endorsement by this committee, which never organizes and manages to reunite, then we will have a major problem with supplements that are hundreds notified on a monthly basis. So it's interesting, but we'll see.
I hear you. Yeah, it's common in many countries, this complexity at administrative level. And it's true also that the competent authorities are made of civil servants that are binded to the orders coming from the head of the office. They have not, or they have limited discretion, and they cannot help you much if the procedures are unclear. But for those listening, this chaos, this situation, let's say not chaos necessarily, but this situation of disharmonization in EU is due also to the fact that food supplements are disciplined in EU by a single directive that is nearly 20 years old now, and is not touching on several hot topics like botanicals that, again, are on hold with all their health claims in front of EFSA. So also the health claims that you can do on botanicals are still something pending, and each country reasonably is doing its own list, like the Belfrit list that you mentioned that has been drafted by Belgium, France, and Italy. So it's true that member states should organize more rationally and attribute the competencies maybe to a single authority, not to two authorities that sometimes are competing in terms of also getting budgets, doing things, and so on. But also at EU level, for those not acquainted with the sector, there's not much, because the directives shall be implemented then by the member states. And it's physiological that member states have their own political priorities. Or you mentioned the bee products. It's interesting that you mentioned the bee products, because why are considered so much in the Romanian legislation? Because you have a big industry, of course, in honey and honey products. So economy shapes also the legislation from time to time. And one last question here. And how's the situation for CBDs, cannabis derivatives? Because I receive a lot of queries from your country, from Poland, and so neighboring countries with Romania, about the possibility to market CBDs as supplements in Italy that, to be honest, are marketed, but as you know better than me, at EU level are quite questionable in terms of legality, because in the novel food catalog of the European Commission, it's clear that the plant and certain plant parts and the seeds and the seed flour that are used to produce pasta or biscuits or other food from many years are not novel food. But CBDs, so the chemical extractions of CBD or the enrichment with CBDs of other products, so CBDs are one of the main active principles in the cannabis plant, it's prohibited until we have some novel food authorization. So what's the situation there? Do you have any transition period, transition regime? Because, you know, we have tons of such products on the EU market, and most of them are honestly simply illegal.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's a very interesting market. I was lucky enough to work many years ago before the novel food status came. And yes, as you well pointed, you have the legislative side, which is black, and the market practice, which is white or gray, let's say. So to put it in a more general framework, Romania, as far as I know, has one of the most restrictive legislations in terms of narcotics and psychotropic substances. So yeah, CBD is definitely in terms of food supplements is considered novel. So you need a proper authorization. Speaking a bit about cannabis, here it may theoretically be cultivated because the law allows you, but you have a lot of practical and legal conditions that you need to observe. This has not worked very well. So in 2019, there was a draft law for cannabis for medical purposes to help people with terminal illnesses and people who would really need such treatments and substances. The draft law, however, got stuck, unfortunately, like a lot of legislation initiatives got stuck, and eventually it received a negative endorsement by the government in 2019. So this is parked somewhere in a drawer, going now on THC. THC is classified as a high-risk drug and is totally prohibited. And what's interesting is that, as you said, in practice you see a lot of products. CBD oil, CBD food supplements. What's interesting is that on the Romanian market, a lot of operators and marketers used the 0.2%, which is provided in the European legislation, as an argument for selling this type of products. And of course, if you don't have legal background, it's a bit difficult to realize that the European legislation, the regulation 1307, if I'm not mistaken, of 2013, provides that if you use this type of plant, you can get subsidies.
Exactly, it's on crops.
It's on crops. So
if you are on the legal side, you know that the 0.2 THC level is to cultivate
yes. So it has nothing to do with the finished product which you place on the market. And this was the reason why the organized crime and police, which deals with this kind of they do a lot of raids, and people eventually they not only they risk going to prison, but the sanctions here are the criminal sanctions, I mean, are really high, like years of jail. So last year in January, they even issued a statement, a public statement, where they specifically indicated that this 0.2% value is determined in the cannabis plant as authorized for cultivation phase, but not for marketing. Apart from this, you still see, if you go downtown or in some areas of Bucharest, of the capital, you see a lot of products containing CBD, but also THC marketed. So it's quite a risky business.
THC is very risky because it's it's complicated, but might be criminally sanctioned also in Italy. While CBD, it's more about food law.
It's
THC,
more about food. Yes,
a high level of THC would be punished under drug law also in Italy. So you see this market is developing mostly online because probably those companies are selling from abroad with no facilities, no goods that can be,
correct.
Execute from the state authorities in Italy or in other countries. We are seeing vending machines also selling those products, and less shops than in the past, but you can still find shops also in Italy that, amongst other legal products, are selling CBDs, enriched supplements that are not exactly legal. Well, that was very interesting, but I still have one point that I want to speak about. I also noticed that, like in many other countries, Italy, France, Spain, you are moving into a new environmental legislation. So there's a new deposit return schemes that it's about to come in force in Romania, maybe. And can you tell us more briefly about this scheme, if it's about, I don't know, metal, plastic, all the materials, if it has an impact on the labels and especially on foreign manufacturers of packaging and food or not, if we should be worried, let's say.
We should be worried.
Yes. We should be worried. Excellent.
We should be worried, yes. So the system, like with many important legislations and game changers game changers, because definitely deposit return scheme is a very important and cumbersome and takes a lot of years and effort and money to implement. So briefly, this scheme was supposed to enter and actually be applicable now, because the legislation stipulated it must enter into force on the 1st of October this year. But in practice, due to a lot of back and forth between the entities involved, but also the state, because as compared to, and this is very interesting, compared to other states, in Romania, the state has a 20% shareholding of the system administrator, which is very interesting, because one may ask himself, okay, the state needs to control eventually the proper implementation of the system and take the necessary steps if something is not done properly, but then it's also a shareholder, so maybe there's a conflict of interest here, of course. So basically the system applies to non-reusable primary packaging made of glass, plastic or metal. The volumes envisaged are from 0.1 liter, so 100 milliliters, to 3 liters inclusive. So here we may, some categories are left out, below 0.1 and of course above. Types of products which are envisaged are beer and beer mixes, alcoholic beverages, cider, fermented beverages, juices, nectars, soft drinks, and all sorts of wines, and also drinking and mineral waters. So quite comprehensive, but still some categories are left out. The system imposes a warranty which must be paid to consumers by consumers of 0.50 RON, which is approximately 0.10 euro, something like that, for any purchased beverage packaging which is recovered once the packaging is returned in any store. So these are the general, this is the general framework which was provided up until a few days ago, because just the other week the government postponed the application, which was supposed, the system should have been functional by now. But there were so many problems, especially with the system administrator and also the procedure for operators to register with the system. So it was eventually postponed last week until 30 November 2023. So we still have a bit more time, because the industry was shouting for the last year, like, we need 12 to 18 months to implement properly the system, looking at other states, because like we said, it's a monumental work. But
it makes sense.
It makes sense. So the state authorities were quite relaxed, and they said no, in a couple of months. Well, they actually didn't say this, but this was the impression, the approach, and yeah, eventually
Mm.
nothing worked, so they needed to postpone it. So in terms of our interest labeling and on the food side, the decision, the legal framework doesn't provide much information as regards the transitional period, and also as regards how the symbol will actually look like and how it will be implemented on the labels. So this, from my point of view, could lead to big issues, because you can have shortages in the supply chain, or even waste of proper labeled products, which are not bearing the marking, because now, since it's postponed, there is still time to implement it, but it depends essentially on how the procedure and specific rules for implementing the labeling and marking will be set up. This is still pending work and ongoing by the authorities, but we will see. Another issue is that there are no provisions regarding the online marketing, because the wording of the piece of legislation just refers to products which are purchased by consumers in store. So as we know, we have a lot of products which are sold online. So there's no clear guidance in this respect. And there are a lot of questions which are still unanswered. For example, when it comes to products that have a single barcode and are marketed in different states, there's no information what will happen in this case, because one can take such a product and get the warranty back from a local store, although the product was placed on the market, on a different market.
Yeah, it creates problems. But yeah, it's my fear is that looking at the approach of other states like Italy or France that move to a different, they adopt a different strategy to mark the packaging with a clear indication of which kind of packaging is and where should be disposed to. But here you have this, you place this burden on consumers, like in US, to pay an additional price for the implementation of the scheme, and then get the money back once they return the container. So I guess that consumers should be advised of the fact that packaging is subject to a deposit return system, and they can get back their money adopting a certain behavior. For instance, in US, there are similar schemes, and on the label, you have the acronym of the states where you are. I don't remember now all the states. It might be, I don't know, Florida, Massachusetts, the amount of money that you get back if you return the can or the bottle. And there's notice on the label. And my fear is that your authorities would like to have at least a logo or something on the pack to identify this kind of packaging, and they will apply to all packaging marketed in Romania.
Yes,
because otherwise that's pointless, to do something just for Romanian products manufactured in Romania and selling in Romania. The impact on the global, system would be very limited. And and that's exactly the problem that we have in Italy, where the obligations are different, but will be applied also to packaging manufactured abroad. So
it's the same here. So we're facing the same challenges.
I foresee the same challenges. Well, and all of that in a situation where economy is, let's say, frail, it's shattered by all the events that we are seeing around the world. And how's the situation? I don't want to abuse of your time, but this discussion is so interesting. How's the situation in Romania now with the war in Ukraine? Because we are feeling really the heat now, and not just on food products, but also on other products. I was speaking with friends now that are adopting an alternative strategy to heat the home. If electricity doubled or tripled, but also wood or pellets to heat the house are double in price. Food is not double, but I would say at least around 10% of increase in prices can be seen in many food categories.
It's interesting this side. For example, in terms of food, definitely there's well, it's also the inflation which skyrocketed and global problems, but I would say food prices for some of the basic products raised 40 to 60 maybe even percent, so it's quite a lot. I mean, as a consumer, I'm going every week, I'm going to the shop, and I notice that I'm paying more for the same products, 10% here, 15, 20 maybe in some other cases, so it's quite a lot. In terms of the bigger picture, since Romania is one of the EU's leading agricultural producers, I noticed we have started to mobilize to fill some gaps because the Russian and Ukrainian exporters are so affected. So Romania is rather pushing on the food processing of raw materials. There's also farmers have started to grow a lot more sunflower and waive their previous productions or changed to sunflower because there's quite a big demand in this. Another important aspect would be the development of alternatives to natural gas fertilizers, because of course, considering the rising gas prices and also the general tendency to reduce the EU's reliance on fossil fuels from Russia, this is quite a topic that we will see more and more discussed. Romania has been affected in this sector. I mean, in the fertilizer sectors has been affected because there are big chemical fertilizer producers which have stopped production either due to legal problems or to the gas price that exploded. So it's quite a challenge for everybody, and yeah, also the opportunities in the field of renewable energy production, coming also back to the dependency on the fossil fuels and gas from Russia. So yeah, we're seeing a problem here.
But it's good to see that you are adapting. As you mentioned, you are probably enhancing the production to supply what we are not receiving from Russia and Ukraine anymore. And also politically, I can say that it's good to see Romania that has the border with those countries, Transnistria and all the rest at the door, to stay aligned with EU policies, while other countries in the former area of influence of the Soviet Union, of Russia, are, you know, are taking, let's say, mixed positions on certain topics. I take responsibility for what I'm saying, but I know that in Romania there are not, generally speaking, tender feelings for Russia and the Soviet period. So I'm not surprised of that, but I'm happy of that, because we need to unite Europe to face those issues with gas prices, with agricultural raw materials shortages. And so it's good to see that despite the crisis, you are creating opportunities for the food sector as a country. So, but thank you for that. Just a final couple of questions that I asked to all the speakers. You spoke about work-life balance. I know you're a father now, you have a boy, and that's a small one. So what are the main challenges for you, especially, you know, going through the pandemic? Are you working from home? Are you working from the office? How is your life balance as a business owner now? You get insane like me, or you find you find a sort of equilibrium in managing all things, kids, work, home, and how you do
Well,
it?
if you're insane already, then there's no problem anymore.
No, but I have two kids now. From 2 on,
No. I was speaking about myself.
Yeah. Okay.
You ask, you get insane, and I just wanted to say you don't get insane if you're already insane. So yeah, it's a big challenge, and yeah, I'm sure we relate to one another, since you're also a father, and proud father of 2 kids. And yeah, it's been quite interesting. In this particular case, the pandemic has been beneficial, I could say, because working from home has its perks, of course, but caring for your kids, but well, doing label reviews and changing diapers doesn't seem that crazy. But yeah, sometimes it's a bit too much. So yeah, I try to keep a proper balance. What I've learned from 1.5 years since being a father is that you really need to be, flexibility is one of the most important things. So you need to adapt incredibly, and I'm trying to use this, and yeah, I'm trying to learn from this and apply it in the professional life. And also the other thing, which of course is related to flexibility, is that you shouldn't make very fixed or rigid plans, because they can go they can be completely wasted, and you can get frustrated. So then you go to the first rule, where you need to be flexible, so things work well. Yeah, it's quite a challenge every day. I would say it helps me, because I've been doing food law, even if in the corporate environment, I would do it like 90% or to 99% sometimes, and I got used little by little, and it went smoothly. From working in a company, or big or small, doesn't matter, and then having my own business. What I love about, especially what I love about my having my own office now and my own business, is that I can totally arrange my day, which sometimes looks like a mess and chaotic, and I'm sure you understand, but I can fill in moments with my family, with moments of work. And yeah, sometimes this means you start working at, I don't know, 8-9 p.m. until late in the night. Sometimes maybe I work more in the morning. Certainly one day doesn't look like the other, and as with food law, you don't get bored at all. Yeah, if you're the 9 to 5 regular type, like coming back with the Trans-Siberian metaphor, if you like regular and things to be like very well in their place and order, and yeah, it might be really difficult or even gruesome at some point. If you're a bit more chaotic, and you well, it helps me, because as far as I've known myself, I've always been the go with the flow type, and I learned to adapt to more rigid and more, because the legal profession, of course, imposes well, rigid is not maybe the best word, but a discipline and structure, which are really helpful. But sometimes I really think it helps you to be to adapt very quickly to the situations. And as we all learn in the last 2 to 3 years, this is something anyone can learn from, I think. So
that's a great advice. Usually my final question is a word of wisdom for the newcomers in the sector, but I have to say that you are doing much better than me in terms of work-life balance, because it took me years to realize what you're just saying. You know, I was very disciplined, like a samurai. I say, okay, every morning the same routine and TikTok, and that was it. But with kids, that's really impossible. Yeah. anyway, it's so funny to see those similar patterns. So, well, thank you very much for all the information that you have that you are giving to us. That's very valuable. Any final remarks or future projects that you are working on, or something that you want to share with our networks?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me. It's a real pleasure, and like I said, an honor, and I'm really grateful for this. Secondly, yeah, I'm very curious and eager to see what the future holds in store, like globally, and how things will turn out, especially in this side of the globe. Hopefully, the war will end. Well, it's debatable if it will end soon, but see things go to, well, normal. It's a very strange word nowadays, but yeah, I'm sure you understand what I mean. Coming to my own garden, I'd be happy to grow the business and maybe start expanding, but in these days, considering what we discussed about the global situation, I'm not doing well. I did some planning, but I don't think coming back to the advice like we discussed, if you have a very structured mind and you think this is what I need to do, like A, B, C, D, and X, and then you just do like A, B, or manage to do 3 out of 10, then it's not that good. So I'm trying to learn as much as possible from the context and adapt, and you never know what happens in a month, let alone in 1 year. So yeah, totally this is something that I think it's a valuable lesson, and I'm learning it also day by day. So don't make too big plans.
No, I would say flexibility will be the key for our future. We hope that the world won't finish soon.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's try to be optimistic, but for sure there will be dramatic changes, for good or bad. We don't know. So flexibility.
Yeah, I agree. In terms of food, like you said, what's interesting is that it always changes, it evolves. This is also something that I'm happy and curious always to learn, because since it's something that we put in ourselves, like every man in this globe has to eat something eventually. So things change so fast that sometimes, I'm sure you feel it too, you don't keep pace with the systems, with the regulations, with the news. So it's very, very, very dynamic. And for example, the deposit return scheme is a good example that it will be a lot of work to do in this side. So of course there will be legal issues, because there are already legal issues just before the system has started to be implemented. So yeah, it always changes, and you just need to be there to ideally get the proper train.
Well, climate change, the unstable political situation. There will be dramatic changes in supply chains, in agriculture. Thing that I read that we are growing coffee in Sicily now, something that was unthinkable until, or at least there are pilot projects. I have to investigate about that. So for sure, we will be busy in the food sector, food and agriculture sector in the next few years, because if we want to feed the global population and keep
also
surviving.
The alternatives to meat,
exactly,
which is of course a big topic.
Alternative to meat. I'm sure that in a couple of years we can have a discussion on different topics. The regulations are not keeping up with reality, definitely, and it's becoming more and more challenging for regulators to face challenges through legal instruments. I would say that in the next years, probably we'll see also a different use of the tools that authorities have at their disposal to regulate certain sectors, because it's simply impossible to keep up with the complexity of the world just with the law that has to be voted in parliaments. It took months, years, and so on and so forth. So probably we'll see more soft law, more.
Yeah,
I'm sure we will see huge developments also in our sector linked to those dramatic changes.
Yeah. Thinking also now, as you pointed, thinking of your specialty like food fraud and food security and adulterations, I'm sure you see like the practice goes sometimes well ahead of the game of the legislators, because they need to be innovative.
There. Exactly, a lot of innovation also in the food fraud sector, and that's it. But I don't want to scare the listeners, so eat your food. Usually it's quite safe, but yeah, this pressure on prices and those happenings are also probably boosting food frauds, are pushing certain companies that risk to go out of business to adopt less diligent practices in terms of food safety. We saw the effects in the recent years where we had many food recalls at big scale. So that's our all interesting topics and developments, but we can just hope for the best and do our best to navigate this complexity, help food companies, help consumers, help the food supply chain to be more resilient, because we are all dependent from food supply chains in the end.
Yeah.
So thanks, Toma. It was great to have this conversation. We will have for sure another one in the future. See you in Bucharest soon, and take care.
Thank you very much, Cesare. Thank you. Take care and goodbye.
Bye. Ciao.